Hello, I'm Dietra Kelsey, and welcome to the first episode of Dietra Kelsey TV. Some of you know me from being the host of Sister Talk TV show. Well, Dietra Kelsey TV are projects that I am developing and/or showcasing. This show is about people that have been impacted by gang violence. My guest this evening is James Garrett, veteran actor and host and producer of Phoenix Rising that airs here at the studios of Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Thank you, Garrett. Thank you, Mr. Garrett, for being here on my first episode of the TV show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Like I said in the introduction, this is about people who have been impacted by gang violence. Your son was killed by a gang member.
Correct.
First of all, before we get into how he was killed and why and all that, what was your son's name, and tell me about him.
Okay, my son's name was Phoenix, Phoenix Garrett.
Wow.
He was 15 years old at the time of his death.
15, okay.
Yes, and the best that I could say is that he was truly the conqueror of my heart. You know, the one joy that I really had in life. You know, I loved him dearly, and the greatest joy that I ever had was being his father.
Tell me, just let us really get into your world, your relationship with your son.
Oh, my son was a daddy's boy.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, he was a daddy's boy. It was everything. My daddy, my daddy, my daddy. Don't talk about my daddy.
Oh,
you know,
really?
He was very smart. He was ahead of its time. But I had a fantastic relationship with him.
What was his favorite subject in school?
That's a good question. Because unfortunately for some of our young people today, with all of the things that are outside that influence them, you know, they get caught up in, you know, they don't concentrate enough on school, but he liked math.
He liked math?
Yeah.
Another mathematician. Tell us about that fateful day. You know.
Well, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he was getting ready to go out. And I noticed he had DVR'd a whole bunch of programs. He DVR'd The Simpsons,
really?
And he DVR'd Family Guy. And I had never watched Family Guy. And so I said, Phoenix, you DVR'd the whole thing. Every episode of Family Guy. And so I said, what are you watching? He said, Daddy, you got to watch it. It gives you, it's for adults. You know, it gives you a lot of meanings that adults can take with them. So the last show that I watched with him, it was when this character, Cleveland Brown, his wife had an affair with the neighbor. And I'm saying to myself, why are you watching this show? I mean, we laughed, he laughed. And then he walked out the house. An hour later, I got a phone call.
An hour later?
An hour later, that he was shot and killed 4 blocks from my house on 144th Street and Broadway.
Who called you?
A friend.
A friend of yours?
Yeah.
A friend of yours. You had to experience that news over the phone.
Well, when I got the call, I didn't know that he had passed.
Oh, but
you know, they just said that he was, you know, he got shot. You
So
know, there was no circumstances, so I didn't know what to expect. I had a friend who worked security at St. Luke's Hospital, so I had him come with me, so to make sure that I could get in quickly. But he made a call there, and he knew, but he wouldn't tell me. You know, he said, I don't want to tell you. You know, he told me later he doesn't want to say anything because, you know, I'm driving and everything. There's no telling what you might go through.
Right. So what happened that day? What happened?
He had an altercation with some gang members that was part of a hip-hop crew, which I'm not going to mention their names right now because there's still some litigation that can be going on years later.
Years later. This happened how many years?
This happened 14 years ago.
So there's still litigation going on?
Well, there's stuff, you know, you know, this case became so big. I was on America's Most Wanted 3 times.
Looking for the killer, yeah?
Yeah, no, not the killer. The killer was a 13-year-old.
Okay.
The gang member gave the gun to a 13-year-old. Yeah, and shot my son 5 times. And
5 times.
5
13.
times. He was caught immediately by a police lieutenant who happened to be on the scene, and as well as a retired detective. So he was caught right away. He had implicated a lot of the other people involved.
Right.
You know, especially there was one hip-hop artist that
was a
involved.
major hip-hop
Major hip-hop artist
Okay.
that was involved, whose music is still playing today. But that's another story. But that evidence was thrown out because of his age, because his mother didn't come to the precinct until 12 hours later. Okay? So he was arrested right away. The guy who gave the kid the gun, he was caught 3 years later. There was one detective who spent 3 years hunting this guy down. And they finally caught him. This was the case that was on America's Most Wanted.
So when you say hunting him down, they knew who he was, but
They knew who he was.
They needed more evidence?
No, they just couldn't find him. There was a lot of money. They had a lot of money.
Okay.
They had a lot of money. The kid had a lawyer whose name was Paul Bergrun. Paul Bergrun was the rapper Shine's lawyer. He used to be the Essex County prosecutor. But, you know, a lot of people who work in that profession, they go defense attorney. And he was very good at what he did. And so whenever there was a rapper in trouble or a gang member in trouble who had some money, they would hire him. And he, by the way, is in jail for life right now, this here attorney.
The attorney is in jail?
Yeah, he's in jail for life for being a cocaine dealer.
Wow.
And he had a witness murdered.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So that you, your son, everything, this more to it than meets the eye.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's
a lot.
Organized, you could say.
Yeah, it was
gang.
organized. It was organized, and then it got me to a point where I became very angry at the streets and everything. I went into this depression, this post-traumatic stress disorder. It took me 7 years just to see the sunshine. And then I started seeing many other people who were just like me. And I got so angry because the community, the black community, we were focusing more on what people from the outside was doing to us than as opposed to all of these people from the inside who was being murdered. Now, I'm sure you know somebody who got murdered.
Yeah.
Most of us out here know someone who has gotten murdered.
Right.
Now, I mean, if something's wrong with that picture.
Right, right.
You know, so for me right now, you know, I always think about the other people who take this journey. I was lucky. I was lucky in the sense that I had a government job, so they kind of took care of me. But I think about some of the other people.
You had mentioned, we had talked about this before, but you had mentioned that you thought at one point you were immune to all of this.
Yeah. You see, I come from a big family. All right. I had 13 aunts and uncles, 22 cousins. A lot of people died. My mother died very young. She died at 44. 3 weeks earlier, my grandmother, who raised me, died. I had several people that I know that died, and I sort of had this, you know, I always took it, you know? And then, but when it happened to my son, it took death to a whole different level. You know, it's the grief. You go to the casket and you see rest in peace. Yeah, they're resting, but you're not at peace. You know, so I think about all of the people who have lost their loved ones, lost their children. They're walking around sick, you know?
What are you doing now to remember your son?
Well, I do my TV show, Phoenix Rising.
Phoenix, yes, right.
Okay.
Right after.
And, you know, I entitled it Phoenix Rising is because it's just like the phoenix rising from the ashes. I want to tell stories of the past that are, you know, resurrected and that they can be retold. Stories of the present that give light, and stories of the future to give hope.
Do you think that you have been resurrected? Because You said you went to therapy for 7 years. You did go to therapy.
No, I didn't go to therapy for 7 years. I went to a support group when I first started, and this support group that I went to, it gave me a deep insight because it was a group of all different people of races, all different income groups, but I noticed there was this one common ground. All those people who lost their children, they were suffering. You know, they were suffering. And it gave me a real indication of the human spirit in that, you know, sometimes our humanity has been compromised, you know, and, you know, like that song by Eddie Kendricks, we're going up in smoke, and sometimes we ain't got no hope.
Are you still angry?
I'm angry, not as much as I used to be, but I am angry. I am angry because there's a lot of work that we need to do from the inside. You know, I hurt for every mother and father who has to go down this journey. You know, we talk about the individual who's lost their life. Well, they're at peace.
You believe that they are at peace?
They're at peace, but it's the living who suffer. You know, and what did you? And I always say, what did you do to deserve this punishment? Actually, you go to jail. You go to a jail that has no bars. It has no guards, but you can't escape. You shackled, you chained, but you're not tied up. So your life no longer belongs to you. And I just want to get this here at one point. It's a health menace that we're dealing with, because I did counseling as part of my work, and many people who have whose lives have changed, they had this type of tragedy. By the way, my sister's son was murdered 20 years earlier.
Wow!
You
Wow!
know?
Wow!
So
Yeah. Again, we had talked before, and at one point, the guy who ordered your son's killing. Before I ask this question, what happened to the 13-year-old?
he did 9 to life. He's out of jail now.
He did life?
Yeah, he actually did 13 years because of the statute, because he was 13 years old at the time.
Okay, so do you know what he's doing now? Or
Well, he's on lifetime parole.
He's on lifetime parole. And he's staying out of trouble? And
Well, as far as I know, I haven't spoken to his probation officer.
So you're just leaving that alone?
Well, you know, I'll check in.
Oh, you do check in?
Oh, yeah, you have the right to check in because there's the Victims Assistance Unit.
Okay.
And there's a lot of rights that you have. A lot of people don't know.
Okay. So the guy who ordered your son's killing, we had talked before, you have to go to parole. He's still in jail, correct?
Well, he may be coming out in August. He did a plea. And his lawyer, by the way, was Jeffrey Lichtman, who represented John Gotti Jr. Okay, so we're just talking about how all of this money is going around.
Right, okay.
You know.
But you have to go to the parole hearing.
Oh, yeah, I went to every one. Well, you go and you do what they call an impact statement. So you get a chance to where you can air how it has, you know, affected you and things like that as the years have gone by.
So you have to relive all that moment, that day?
Well, you know, it depends on how you handle it. You know, the best thing that you can do is be the best representative of your child. So I don't go there screaming and hollering and everything. You know, I try to be as calm as I possibly can because right now I'm the representative of my child.
Right.
And if I go there all crazy and everything, I'm not representing him well.
I said that I'm doing this because of my play, my gospel musical, which I feel that I have to do for anybody that's standing at a crossroad that has to choose between salvation and damnation. I have to ask you, how do you feel about God with all this happening to you?
That's a very interesting question because...
And I would love for you to be honest.
Yeah, no, I was mad at God for a while, you know, but I read this book and it was by a Jewish rabbi. And the book was called When Bad Things Happen to Good People.
Wow.
Okay? And what was so deep about the book was that he talks about God because his son had that disease that I forgot what they call it, but you grow old quickly.
Oh yeah, I know about it. Yes.
So he lost his son at about 12 years old, and he went through that same thing. But my whole thing about God was that, you know, God got too much on his plate. You know, I mean,
you thought about that, or you still feel that way now?
No, that's the way I thought after reading the book. You know, and I kind of thought about that when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, I used to be interested in astronomy. And so I remember when I went to the baseball field on 128th Street and Lexington Avenue, I go there early in the morning with my little telescope, and I would look at the morning stars, right? And I'm looking at it one day, and I say, damn. I said, God created all of this.
Wow.
You know, he created all of this, and so he don't have time to be looking at every little thing that I do. All right? So he's created to see a situation, and it's up to you to do something. There's conflict in the world, you have to work it out. You know, so that's why, you know, sometimes when I say, you know, when people say, well, you got to pray on it. Yeah, you got to pray on it, but you got a job too.
Right.
And when I read that book, it kind of highlighted that, and so it calmed me down. My anger.
Calm down.
Yeah, my anger for God calmed down. You know, you got to do the work.
You're an actor. I know you worked for the government for a while. You're back into strong acting.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're doing now.
Okay, well, I'm getting ready to do Mandela again. Currently, off and on, I play Berry Gordy in Motown Stories. During the holidays, through the Christmas holidays, I play Scrooge, which is really fantastic, you know, for the kids. I play Louis Latimer in this here play called Black Inventors.
Please tell us who Louis Latimer is.
Oh, well, Louis Latimer, when you see that light up there, he created the carbon filaments in incandescent lamps and lights, which made light bulbs last longer than they ever had. And his invention from the year 1884 to 1920 was the standard for light bulbs. You know, so
you're just doing your work and doing
yeah,
your
I'm
thing.
just trying to do my work, trying to do as much you know, inspiration as I can. There's too many negative role models,
Right.
you know, for kids out here today. Everybody can't be a rapper. Everybody can't be a basketball player. And you know, for black folks in general, I think that there's something that they have to think about in this new America, the browning of America. Everybody is trying to find their space in this new America, okay? You got to step up to the plate because you got people that's coming from all different places and they're hungry. And the things that we used to dominate, we used to dominate in basketball. You got basketball players coming from Europe, coming from all over the place. You know, you don't dominate rap anymore. You know, people could sing just as well. The things that we used to dominate, we don't dominate. So now we have to start getting ourselves back together, getting into the sciences. You know,
Getting back to the science.
getting back to the scientists that we used to be.
Right.
You know,
Right.
some of the things that when I used to play W.B. Du Bois, some of the things that they used to say, when arguing with Booker T. Washington, a lot of things that they used to do. We got to go back to that. There was a blueprint, so we got to go back to it.
What is the best memory of Phoenix? Of Phoenix. What's the best memory you have of him?
When he was a little boy, well, first of all, the real best memories is that when he was really little, and just, you know, little baby, when they love you, you know, they come up, they crawl up in your arms. They have their bottle, you know, they want to lay there and watch TV with you. They give you a kiss, or they say, I love you, Daddy, you know, that type of thing. But what I really remember is when I used to come home from work, right? And when he was little, he used to always be hiding somewhere.
Oh,
you know?
really?
And one day, he found some way to propel himself over the door. So I'm waiting. You know, I'm putting the key in the door. I'm saying, what do you got for me today?
Yeah.
You know, I said, all right, what you gonna do now? And then all of a sudden I hear him laughing. He's right up there on top of me.
How old was he?
He was about like 6.
6 years, and he climbed up on the door.
Yeah, you know, 6. You know, so it's always you know, a lot of memories. And then I remember something when he got older, because when he first turned 15, girls start calling the house. And you know, that's kind of a, you know, little up for the daddy. Oh, the girl calling you, huh?
Yeah.
He said, Daddy, I don't have time for love. He said, I got other things in mind. I don't got time for love.
Oh, wow.
And I thought that was very deep, and it's something that, you know, sticks with me right now. You know, sometimes you don't have time for love. And that's what he said. I don't have time for love. I don't have time to get a girlfriend or anything like that.
Because he loved you.
No, it wasn't so, but it's just that he had other things in his mind, and he knew that can get in the way sometimes.
Oh, that's what he was talking about.
That's what he was talking about.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't about me or anything. He said, no, I got it.
I got you. Okay. Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. My project that I am working on right now is my gospel musical, Whose Side Are You On?, about gang and gun violence. What I am doing now is part of a series of featuring people who have been impacted by gang and gun violence. Please donate at GoFundMe/Whose Side Are You On to help make the gospel musical a reality. There you will find additional information. I'm Dietra Kelsey, and as always, I'm wishing you peace, love, and remember,